We now come to an amazing moment for Molly and myself, for the directors of the Pointe-a-Pierre Wildfowl Trust, for the staff of the Pointe-a-Pierre Wildfowl Trust, our education officers, our avicultural team, and for all the people who have helped us throughout these years. We come now to the feature address, which is to be presented by the Right Honourable the Baroness Scotland of Asthal, PC, QC. Now, I've got a great long piece of paper to read. So settle down. There's quite a lot to say about her, as you would imagine. The Right Honourable the Baroness Scotland of Asthal, member of the Privy Council, Queen's Council, Lady Patricia Janet, Auntie Pat, to her loving niece Akia, who is here with us today, with a young friend, to hear and see her auntie in action. Baroness Scotland is the younger sister of Dr. Lucretia Gabriel, who lives in Trinidad, and she's here with us today. I had a fair amount of research to do. It wasn't hard. And I'm going to share some of what we pulled up with you. Baroness Scotland calls herself one daughter. You're going to have to ask her what she means by that, but figure it out. She's the 10th child of a family of 12 and is a typical mix of the unexpected, these are her words, with family all over the region. She's a classic Caribbean woman, born in the beautiful island of Dominica. She left there with her family as a very young girl. She's the mother of 2 sons and has a shooting star trajectory of stellar achievements. This star ain't burnt out. Oh no. This classic Caribbean woman of deep faith has just been elected as the Commonwealth Secretary General. The first Caribbean woman in the 66. Have I got it right? Is it 66 or 62? 62. Knock off 4 years, all right? 62-year history of the Commonwealth of 53 nations, embracing about 2.2 billion people. Lady Patricia accepts this challenge, bringing the sum, I'm quoting her again, the sum of all her life's experiences, end of quote, and achievements as a classic Caribbean woman to the post. I quote again, "The diversity and dynamism of the Caribbean, the joy of life. We are better, richer, stronger for our diversity. And if we put our minds to something, we can do it." The Caribbean provides inspiration through the sheer content of its character. End of quote. It is also significant that Baroness Scotland's coat of arms bears a red-billed tropic bird. So Nicholas, Mark, and whoever else of the birding community here, are you with me? Red-billed tropic bird. This is a seabird of tropical oceans and a breeding resident of Tobago. I hope that my rusty Latin interprets her motto, your motto correct, Baroness. Yeah? Let's have a go at it. It is thanks to you. Anywhere close? The power within you. That's much better. My Latin, obviously, dead, dead, dead. The power within you. Thank you. We are so honoured and pleased to present our classic Caribbean woman. You know, we all claim her. And it is with great pleasure we ask her to come to this podium and present her feature address to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Pointe-a-Pierre Wildfowl Trust, Baroness Scotland.
Mr. President, First Lady, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say all protocols observed. Can I just say what an honour and a privilege it was for me to be asked to come and speak at the 50th anniversary of the Trust, their golden anniversary. And it was prescient, as always, of the two mistresses of the Trust to have chosen to invite me some considerable time before there was any realistic expectation that I would indeed be the next Secretary General of the Commonwealth. In fact, if they were betting women, many would say they had bet on the wrong horse. But they, as a number of others, bet on me. And I am incredibly grateful for that. I'm also incredibly honoured that, Mr. President, you are here. Because, of course, you have been one of the exemplars that many have followed, not just in this country, but across the region. Your leadership for young people, your leadership in relation to the environment is well known. And I have been humbled by the generosity of your reception of me on so many occasions, and the honour that you give us all by being present today with your beautiful First Lady. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank you. Now, everyone here is here because of the indomitable spirit of Molly and her cohort. Because these two ladies are not to be trifled with. And I wish anyone who has ever said no to them to please now put up their hand. I don't think anyone living has managed to do that. But the indomitable spirit of these two most wonderful women has kept this trust alive. And they have breathed life into an agenda which many felt had no future. If we look back 50 years ago, how many people believed that the wetlands could be preserved? How many people truly believed that the birds were worth keeping? And how many would have bet that 50 years later, we would all have been captured in this room to pay homage to the two great ladies, which I now intend to do. But I hope you all understand that this is the beginning of your journey and not the end. So that, I'm sure, no good deed ever goes unpunished. So because you are here, I'm sure Molly and her wonderful Caitlin is going to ask you to think of something that you'll want to do, and then double it, then treble it, and then quadruple it. And then if you are still standing, why don't you just times it by 10? But seriously, this is a great moment for us. But it's a moment that we really have to savor, because we all know that we live in troubled and troubling times. Many of you will know that at Chogham in Malta, there was a huge discussion about what we should do to preserve our environment. And right now, as we speak, there is debate and discussion, probably wrangling, about what we should agree together as an international community as part of COP21. Most of us in this region, and indeed in the Pacific, long for a 1.5% settlement, which is enforceable, because we know that sea levels are rising rapidly. There has been talk for quite a long time about the existential threat that climate change poses. And for many outside of our region and outside the Pacific, that threat seems like a distant, hollow sound. But for those of us here in the Caribbean and in the Pacific, that existential threat is real. And as you have been told, I was born in perhaps one of the most beautiful islands in the Caribbean, Dominica. On the 27th of August, Dominica was struck most viciously by Tropical Storm Erica. No one anticipated that a mere tropical storm could cause the damage it has in fact caused. Most of you, I'm sure, know that as a result of those 6 hours of torrential rain, Dominica was battered. 90% of her GDP has been adversely affected, and there is damage of more than $500 million. So if you look at the infrastructural damage caused to Dominica, it's probably put us back 20 years. And this is a challenge for all of us, because we know Grenada, St. Lucia, Dominica, Trinidad hasn't been hit so hard now, but things are changing, and there are areas of Trinidad under threat. So the whole of our region has been affected. The winds in the Bahamas just a few weeks ago caused considerable damage. So that threat for us is real. When you look at our GDP, very little, if any, attention is taken to our vulnerability, because Dominica had had a 4.5% rise in its GDP, was seen to doing well, and within a blink of an eye, like that, it was all gone. So that vulnerability is real for us. And there is a moment where we in the Caribbean need to stand resolutely together. And this is something that each and every one of us can do something about to make sure that it happens. My father always said to me and to each of us, it starts with you. The first time he said that to me, as I was telling people the other day, was I was 6 years old. And I saw an injustice in terms of Soweto and the degradation of black people that was taking place in the southern states of America. And I told Daddy that I thought things were wrong. It was terrible. We needed to do something. And I was absolutely thrilled because my daddy agreed with me. So I went around saying, Daddy thinks I'm right. And then he said to me this. He said, so, what are you going to do about it? And I said, me, Daddy, I'm 6. To which he said, and your point is? Because it starts with you. And on that day, I decided that the 6-year-old Patricia would never eat another piece of South African fruit again until South Africa was free. Well, I thought it would take a few months. And 20 plus years later, I was still fruitless. And my sisters had a habit of going, delicious. So I was tempted for all those years, but I resisted. So we have a challenge before each of us. And there is a question for each of us as to what we intend to do to make a difference for climate change. Molly has started it. Her comrade in arms has followed it. But what will we, each of us, do as a result of coming today that we would not have done in order to make that our climate will be better tomorrow for our children? And there is a huge debt that we owe all the children of our country. As you know, in the Commonwealth, 60% of our population by 2030 will be below the age of 30 years. So that's a huge, huge opportunity and challenge for us. But we need to leave the world with a future fit for each of our children. So I hope that by coming today, you will join with all of those who've already started along the road. I would like to thank each and every one of you who have made the trust possible, who've walked with it and who've supported it, who've dug trenches and laid roads and literally planted trees and saved birds. That is the beginning. But I hope that we will all find somebody to whom we can tell this story. And we will decide, each of us, as a result of coming today, that there are at least 3 things that we will do. And I want for a moment to say to the gentleman, I hope that you will do at least one of them. Ladies, feel free to do 20. We will need all of us, men and women, working together. You know that the World Bank said that in order for any of us to have real wealth, we have to invest in our social capital. This is our social capital. They also said that what men and women do together in terms of business and endeavors is always, always so much better than what women or men do on their own. It's that connection between the two that gives us our power, our voice, our energy. So some of us may say, God may have known what he was doing. He made man, and then he made woman. Because without the two, you don't get a whole. So I hope that we will plot, we will plan, and we will actually have a great time saving the Lord's world to make it as beautiful as it should really be. And I want you all, if I may, to join me in thanking the 2 brilliant women who have steered the trust with such vivacity, such energy, such passion, and such grace for so many years. Molly and Patricia.